Welcome to Make It Now with Linda Lang. I was trying to think of another project to do, and I thought I would follow up on some of these that I've made. Aren't these gorgeous? I actually just simply used a piece of cardstock that's already had a butterfly design on it, and then I did the same technique as I did on my cabochon earrings and my cabochon necklaces, the same technique, and I added some fringe. So I did the same thing with this one, an orange one, and I've got the beads, and I like the clasp. These are the magnetic clasps, like that. I love those. Get them on Amazon. And so today I just wanted to kind of follow up with you on how I made these. You start out with some paper, just cardstock. I got it out at the Paper Studio. I think I got this half off at Michael's or Joann's or something like that. I always get my paper on sale. I never buy wholesale unless it's wonderful and I want it really badly. So here's a bunch of different pieces in here. And I thought, what can I use to make, ooh, look. Wouldn't that be a nice necklace right there? Check that one out. And I do have 2 pages. So, I mean, I only need one because I'm only going to use the one for the necklace, but I can use maybe this for an earring? I don't know. So I'm just kind of looking. Ooh, here's the next one. But I went into the back here and I found these. Ooh, look at those. Okay. This one I won't use, of course, because it's faded out. And this one is pretty complete. This one's really pretty. This one's gosh, that one's really pretty. That one's complete. This one's complete. So you see how many butterflies I can make with this? I can make beautiful necklace. Now, it's not as big as this. Now, I did get this out of this kind of paper, but I ran out. So I'm going for my next paper. Don't go buy stuff if you already have it. Matter of fact, you don't even have to use butterflies. Let's see what else we can use in here. You can use a globe. You can do a globe. Whatever else you've got in here. Gosh, stamps. Oh, you can make it stamp ones. Just use what you have. Let's see what else we have here. A clock. Wouldn't that be a nice necklace? A clock. But I'm actually ooh, here's some more butterflies. I'm actually partial to the butterflies. Oh, a key. So, I mean, find a tablet of paper that has a lot of graphics in it. And you can do all kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out, actually I'm going to pull this paper out. And again, I'm not needing 2. And I only needed 2 if I was going to make earrings, okay? Because then you want the earrings to match. But these are too big for earrings. So I'm going to just take this piece out and I'm going to use this or this. I might even make 2. I don't know. I'm going to pull this out. Again, just get some paper, cool paper. And, okay, so now let's get started. Need a pair of scissors. Very easy. And I'm going to cut out the butterfly. I'm going to cut out 2 because I like to do 2 at a time. Okay, so I'm going to do these 2 butterflies and it's going to look like this when I'm done. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to just cut these out. Okay, there's this butterfly. And in here, in this particular idea, pattern, it's kind of got colors in there. So I'm going to actually go up a little bit with it. Make kind of an indentation right there. Just like this one. See, it goes up inside a little bit. Of course, the smaller it is, the harder it is to do that, but I'm going to try it. Like I said, you're coming along with me for the ride because I've never done one this size before in a necklace. but I believe it'll work. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is strengthen this. And you use cardboard, and I use cake mix box or a cereal box, okay? And I'm going to cut 2 for each butterfly. If you do 3, that's fine too. I'm just going to do 2 at this point. And so you have to cut it out exactly to the shape of that. So I'm going to use a pen, and I'm going to turn it over though because I don't want to draw on the front of my butterfly. So I'm just going to draw around it. Okay, now the fun part is cutting these out. If you have a punch, a butterfly, huge butterfly punch, it'd be better, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna just cut these out. Now, here's the interesting part. Since I cut it this way, all right, that means I'm gonna have to make sure that this part is up so it matches it perfectly the way I cut it. Unfortunately, it's got the color that bleeds through a little bit from the back to the front. But I'm going to make it work. Look, I made it work. Anyway, I'm going to make it work. So they go this way. So you want to make it, I like a nice thick cardstock here. You can do 3 if you want. That works too. See, now it's really strong. Okay, so you do 3. Actually, it's 2 and then the top one. But you can do 3. I don't have enough cardboard, so I'm only doing 2 because I want to do both of the butterflies. Okay, so I've got my butterflies here, and I'm just going to go, oops, this goes this way, this goes this way, like that. And now all you do is you glue it together. You just use regular glue. I'm going to use a thing to protect my table. And I use Eileen's tacky glue. And I put it in this little tube so it's easier to push through the. And just dab it along. Make sure you get all the way to the edge a little bit. Because you want to make sure that it becomes one piece. Middle, just dab it. And then you take your other piece of cardstock, you put it on top of it, and you squish it around so that makes sure it gets all the edges. And I like using white glue because you can move it around really nicely. Then I take this butterfly cover and I'm going to put it on top like that. Make sure it gets all the edges and everything. So that's why I like to move it around to make sure it's glued all the way to the edge. Use your fingers to move it around, maneuver the top onto it. And don't worry about the little bit of edging showing. We're going to sand it, okay? So there's this one. And I like to put something on top of it. I have a coffee cup here. I'm just going to set that on there. And let me do this one. And then we'll put the butterfly on top. Squish it around so that it gets all the glued edges. And then use your fingers to just make sure it molds directly to the back. So I'm going to set it under here and I'm going to let those two sit for just a moment and I'll be right back. Alright, so let it dry for about 10 minutes. And then I just sand, but I don't go back and forth like this and I don't come from the back up. I go from the front back. That way you're not pulling your picture up. Make it nice and smooth. And it looks just like a stone when you get done with it. Let's try this one. Okay, there's my 2 butterflies. Those are beautiful. Okay, now what we do next is we glaze. I love the triple thick. All you simply do is make sure it's nice and clean. And then you just put a blob of it on top. Get a paintbrush and then just brush it over the top. Now you can do this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to make a really nice looking stone. So let's put these on here. And it dries fairly quickly, so you want to work quickly on this. Make sure you get all the edges. And it's hard to see where the bubbles are, so make sure you pop the bubbles and make sure you get it all the way to the edge, because sometimes it's hard to see. You might have to hold it up to the light. I'll let those two dry and I'll be right back. Just finished letting these dry. Took about, I don't know, let it go about an hour. And so I'm just going to work with one of these because I'll do the same thing with the other one. What you want to find now is the hard felt, not the soft felt. This is hard felt. You can also find a brown as well. I can either use this to trim the butterfly, or I can use this to trim the butterfly. Which one? I mean, this really matches well, but I think this will bring out lots of colors. I think that I want to use that one. So now I'm going to glue this right onto this yellow background. And you want to glue it all the way to the end. So on the back, I put little gloves and I kind of rub it around. So I don't want this lifting up off the piece of fabric. I want to make sure it's glued really good all the way around. And you want to let that dry. You can let it dry for about 15 minutes or so before we start working on it. I'm just going to cut a little bit off around the edge like that, just so that it's easy to maneuver with my threading. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the whole edge with beads. Let's try that. These are kind of elongated beads. They're not really exactly round, but that's okay. You can use any kind of bead you want. And now you take the needle, and I'm gonna start on a long stretch. So I'm gonna start right about here. You put that so that the knot is on the back. You have your thread facing up, and you grab 5 beads. We're going to do 4 because these are big. And then you make sure that it goes all the way down to the beginning of that string, like that. Hold those down. Put the needle at the end of that bead, of that last bead. Go back up through the center bead. There's 4, so you want to go through the second. See how I put my needle right there, right on the inside of that second bead, coming down, and then you take your needle and thread back through those 2 last beads. And that just secures it down next to your project. I'm going to complete it and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and I put the beads all the way around. And now my thread is on the back and I want to tie a knot. So I just do a slip knot. I put the needle in there and then I just loop it twice and pull it through, make a nice knot. And then I cut it. So the back doesn't matter because you're not going to see it anyway. See all that? But look how pretty the front is. It's just trimmed beautifully. Okay, so now the next thing you do is you want to find a matching back. So I have this piece of gold that I had, and it's fake leather, I think, and it's just so pretty. You can buy it at Joann's. Get a yard of it and it'll last forever, and I use this for my back. And you want to cut like maybe a scissor length out or maybe a 1/4 8 out, just a little, so that you can grab the fabric on the front and then connect it to the back, and we're going to do it with beads. So give yourself some space, and that way you don't also cut into any of your thread. And it also makes the necklace a little larger, especially if the picture was small like this one in the first place. Now I'm going to take this and glue it to the wrong side of this piece, like that, so that the shiny is on the back. But you don't need to glue it all the way to the edge like we did with the butterfly itself. You want to glue just to the middle and let it sit, because the beads are going to hold the front and the back together. So let's get started on that. I will use a little bit of E6000, put it, kind of dab it around the middle, not on the sides, and then put it down. Push it down. Now I'm going to hold it and cut exactly to that yellow piece that we cut a minute ago, all the way around. Look how pretty that's getting to be. It's gorgeous. So we have to decide what bead we're going to use on the outside. Now I take a needle and thread, and these are just kind of squished together, but you know, it's still like this. You can start anywhere on your beading project, and so you put you take the needle and you want to hide the knot. So I just slip my needle in between, come up, anywhere along the line there. See where I put it right here. And it's okay, you can go as deep as you want, but make sure you grab enough material so that it won't come apart. And then you have your thread forward, pick up one bead, this is a seed bead, little tiny seed bead, and you bring your needle back through and back through the front where you started, like that. And the bead is sitting up here. Then you take your needle and go back in through the place where you went in, not where you exited it, where you went in, and then it brings the bead straight up. See, along the edge. It'll go straight up along the edge. I'm gonna do it again. Grab another bead. This is sticking up. That's good. Put it close to the other one that you can, as uniform as you can. Come back up. I've got this finger behind holding it all together. Then I go back up the bead. And do it again. Grab a bead. It's tedious, but it's worth it. And it doesn't take long. Go back in the material. I use my finger on the back to hold it up and put the needle back through the bead. So this is going to trim all the way around, and I'll be right back. I have completed the whole trim, and my needle I stuck at the bottom. Now I didn't start at the bottom, but I just ended where I needed to end, and then I began a new piece of thread, and I actually put the needle in the project, pushed it through so that the knot is in here. You can't even see where the knot is. Okay, and so then I bring my needle out the back and I look at where the center is, because I want to start my fringe down the bottom, and I go to the back, it's easier, and I just put my needle in and then through one of the beads. Then you have to pick your beads out that you want for the strand. And I'm going to be using some of the beads that I used around here. I'm going to use some of the beads that I used around here, and then I found some heavier duty beads, and I found some black beads. So I'm going to go ahead and start stranding the first one. Put on some of these. 2, 3, 4. There's no rules. You just do what you want. That first strand is like whatever. Do whatever you want, because it's going to be its own little thing there. Okay, there's some yellow. Now I'm going to put them on the little string here. I don't know how many, I'm just putting them on there. I put some more beads that are brown here. And I want to make it real long because it's a smaller piece. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and then I'm going to add, I have some variety of beads over here, a little bit larger, so that I use them for the bottom, so it holds the bead down. And then I'm going to take a brown one to tie off the bottom, and I go right back up. I go right back up with that bead on there, right back up through all those beads. You see how nice it hangs? Go back up through that same hole and out the back. Okay, like that. So that's how it starts. Okay, so now my thread is out the back and go down into the next bead. I just finished the fringe on this. Isn't that gorgeous? Wow. And so I'm going to use these little pieces of, I guess it's just medallion holders, or just, I buy them on Amazon. And I'm going to glue them to the back of these like that. I want to use the E6000 glue. Oops, let's do this. E6000, it goes here, and here. Now that's going to take a little while to glue. I don't want to do any more work on this until it's completely glued dry. So once it's done, I will be back. Okay, so now these have dried. They're stuck on the back, and I like the gold. It matches that very nicely. And now what I want to do is start stringing these, but I don't like the wire to go through here. It just doesn't look good. And I use wire for my necklace, so I'm going to use jump ring. And I use these jump rings that are split tops. They're not just the regular jump rings that you open. These you got to open differently. And so I'm going to use a couple that match. These are a copper kind. I have different colors, and I use these mostly for everything. I don't like those other jump rings because they come out, they come apart, they open. These will never open. And so they're a double, I don't know if you can see that. They're a double thingy. I don't know, they're called split rings. And so I stick my thumb in there, my nail thumb, and then I slip it in here like that. And then I just make sure it goes through both sides, and then flip it through like that. Now I can start working on my necklace. I use beading wire, and it's 0.45 millimeters. I like to know how long I want to make my necklace. Now this isn't like a whole necklace. You do from one end to the top and then the other end to the top. So you'll need 2 pieces of wire for this example. If you have the ring in the middle, then you can just do 1 strand. But I am doing 2, so I'm going to know that I'm going to probably cut it at about here. And I eyeball it, and I'll tell you how long it is just in case you want to know. And again, if you want the necklace to hang lower, then you make this wire longer. But I'm just going to do this. Okay, and so then you just take one, put one aside. So I have some crimp beads. You can use any size you want. I have 2 crimp beads here, so I'm going to put a crimp bead on the one side. Then I put it through the loop, the ring. I put it through the ring, and then I take this wire and I put it back up through the crimp bead. and then I just kind of pull a little bit. So there's about not even an inch of that other piece there. This one, that's the one that I put through. And you want the crimp bead to go down as far as it can go to this little loop right here. So then I squeeze it with my pliers and it flattens it. And the other thing I like to do is I have these crimp bead covers because, you know, it's okay to have a crimp bead, not a big deal. But I don't know, I really like using a cover because if you look at it, it's going to cover the crimp bead. So I take my pliers, I hold it on the outside so that the opening is facing out, and this crimp bead is facing out. So you want to hold, well, however you want to hold your wire, and put the crimp bead around that crimp bead that you put on there. You see now it's got a kind of a bead. Looks like a bead. Isn't that pretty? It covers that crimp bead. So now this is when you start beading your necklace. I had started making my design, and then you see how that wire, it has a little bit of a tail? I'm going to put the bead on it so that it holds it in place and that it's not seen. So the first bead I want to put on is something, I don't know, how about one of these little wooden beads. I'll put them on like this, and then it goes over that. So it goes inside. Okay, there's that bead. And then the next one I want to use is one of my pretty beads. So I use one of these. And of course make sure that that wire is inside. It likes to be tricky. Okay, get it inside, okay? And then I go to the next bead, which I'm going to put one of these spacer beads in, and then add my other pretty bead, like that. See how that's already started to look really beautiful? And then what you do is you keep going and make decorative about, I say about 4 inches, and then the rest you use smaller beads all the way to the necklace, to the neck joint. Now what I have done is I have completed this one side, and I measured it around my neck, and this is the middle of the back of my neck, and that's how long I want this to be. So what I'm going to do now is once I kind of went big, and then I went medium, and then I went small beads. You see how that works? And then I want to make sure that there's no looseness in here. I don't want any wires showing. And so when I get ready to put my ending in, I need to tighten it up. And so what you do first is find your endings. So I like these. I use these. Okay, when this goes inside of here. You can also use the magnetic ones, which I've used on my other one here. This one, it's magnetic. And then you just connect the loops on each side of it. But on this one, I'm going to use these loops. And so let me show you how to do it. You pick up a crimp bead first, put it on the wire, and then you put whatever end you want to put in, you put it in here, and then you're going to take this other piece, this other end, and put it through the crimp bead. You want to put it through the crimp bead and a couple of the other beads down, because you want to hide the wire within the beads. And so I just go down, I want about 4 beads. So then you pull, you see how you do that? You pull this piece down. And you want to make sure you put your crimp bead right above that last bead so that it really is secure, and squish it down. Okay, now this wire is sticking out here. And this is when I take my cutter and I cut the wires really close. You take the crimp bead cover, which I love, and I'm going to use the same color I used on my necklace portion. And I pick this up. So then I just put it around that crimp bead. Just like that, just like that. Now everything is pretty tight. Now I'm ready to do the other side. Okay, now I'm at the end of the other side, and I'm going to put a crimp bead on it first. Take my end clasp that I want to use, put it through the hole. Make sure that it's all tight down here. Take the wire and go back through the crimp bead and about 3 or 4 other beads. And then make sure it's nice and tight. Hold the pieces all together like this and pull. And then I crimp it and then add the crimp bead cover. Like that. Okay, so now this wire's sticking out. What do I do with it? I cut it off. All right, we have finished our necklace. Well, until next time, have a wonderful day.